Jeremiah Love is a player that you have to keep an eye out on just because of a running back, his versatility, how good he is in the receiving game this year. We haven't seen a running back potentially crack the top three when you just think about it with the Heisman Trophy back there. Jeremiah Love just dominant. If Notre Dame wins out and they're in the college football playoff, Love should be involved in the conversation.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Starts off on a positive note of getting Lamar Jackson back Thursday night, which was great. He threw for 200 yards, did not look rusty at all. He only rushed for 15, but he didn't really need that. Lamar Jackson also threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of which going to Mark Andrews. So guess who's back and relative again at the tight end position now that Lamar's back? Oh, wait, it's Mark Andrews. No kidding. I mean, the guy just catches touchdowns. It's Lamar's favorite guy in the red zone.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Blue Jays are going to be dangerous for years to come because they have money. They're a fun team. Other players like Guerrero, the Blue Jays are a first-class organization. They treat the players very well. They're first-class complex. As I stated earlier, you can live like across the street from the stadium and there's no drama. You don't have to sit in traffic ever. You have an entire country that buys your jerseys and are big fans of yours.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Good afternoon. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. What a wild NFL trade deadline it was yesterday. We'll recap everything that happened in the National Football League, including some massive moves that sent a couple of New York Jets packing elsewhere. Michael DeCourcy will join us courtesy of Sporting News. We'll break it all down for you. Also, Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report. We'll break down the latest in both college and pro football, and baseball's hot stove already underway. Latest news, notes, information, and updates there as well. We'll also cover last night's NBA and also break down some of the matchups tonight in the association. But let's get started with our biggest sports betting story of the week. And yet another scandal could be potentially going on here with the UFC. In fact, Dana White, the head of the UFC, has met with the FBI. In case you missed it, according to Dana White, the UFC was alerted by a sports betting watchdog integrity compliance because of abnormal betting in a featherweight bout between Isaac Dulgarian and Javier Del Valle at UFC Fight Night on Saturday. Dulgarian, who was around a minus 250 betting favorite, lost by first round submission. He's been released from the UFC, and White says that he is complying and working with the FBI to see if there was any wrongdoing. So stay tuned. Latest from the UFC there. Meanwhile, Kalshi is getting involved here with the NCAA in a way that the college football framework really doesn't appreciate. In fact, the NCAA is asking Kalshi to stop listing that their outcomes are verified from the NCAA and using a link to NCAA.com. NCAA says that they're concerned that the language will imply that the public is involved in understanding that the NCAA has some relationship with Kalshi, which they do not. A Kalshi spokesperson says the company values the NCAA's feedback and they're working on adjusting the language. Naturally, they're going to remove this from their website. They don't want it involved. Okay, when we were on the air yesterday, we found out that the Jets were sellers. Probably knew that just based on their record. To what degree we really weren't sure. Yesterday, they traded Sauce Gardner about 24 hours ago, and then later on in the day, they traded Quentin Mitchell. Gardner goes to the Colts for a couple of first-round picks and wide receiver Adonai Mitchell. The Jets sent Quentin Williams to the Dallas Cowboys for a 2026 second-round pick, a first-round pick, and Mozzie Smith. So the Jets are playing for the future and not the present. Darren Muji, the general manager of the Jets, talked about how difficult it was to trade two popular players from their locker room.
In regards to the trade deadline and the trades we made today, a little kind of backstory, leading up to it. A lot of work goes into it. Never an easy day. A lot of tough decisions. Never easy moving on from any player, let alone guys like Sauce and Quinnen, who've been a part of this organization and a part of this team this year. Again, like you hear them and you're like, I probably wouldn't do that, but we have our set values. We keep all those conversations private. And when it came down to the last few days, Indianapolis kept getting richer and richer with their value, and eventually, like I said, was too good to pass up. But I have a lot of conversations throughout the course of the year with different GMs, and this one materialized.
And by the way, Breece Hall remains a Jet. No other mega trades made, by the way, on trade deadline day. The Saints did make a smaller deal. Rashid Shaheed, wide receiver, was sent to the Seattle Seahawks for a 2026 fourth-round pick and a 2026 fifth-round pick. The Saints also traded a guard, Trevor Penning, to the Chargers' banged-up offensive line for a 2027 sixth-round pick. So, as far as the trades that weren't made, a lot of folks thought that Miami would be heavily involved in the trade deadline, maybe the New York Giants, maybe the Cleveland Browns, and some others. And there was some speculation that maybe the Eagles would move on from A.J. Brown, Pro Bowl wide receiver, who has made his own noise with the team since the beginning of the season. General Manager Howie Roseman spoke about that and the trade deadline, saying that Brown is a captain of the team and is needed for the stretch run.
Hey, Howie, there's a lot of conversation on the outside about A.J. Brown. What was your stance internally when it came to Brown? Did you entertain any offers for him?
Well, would really like to keep this about the guys we acquired, but, Tim, I think that when you're trying to be a great team, it's hard to trade great players. And A.J. Brown's a great player. He wears the C for a reason. He's an important part of this team, of this organization. He cares about winning. He cares about his teammates. And I think that when you're a team like ours that is looking forward to an opportunity to compete for a championship, you just don't get rid of the guys like that. And so feel very lucky to have him on our team and excited about the second half of the season with him.
Meanwhile, the Arizona Cardinals going through somewhat of a peculiar situation at quarterback. Last weekend, it was determined that Jacoby Brissett would start the game on Monday night for the Cardinals with Kyler Murray potentially as the backup. This week, back to Jacoby Brissett they go. Kyler Murray not going to play this week. It just certainly feels like the Cardinals are going with the hot hand at quarterback. They're saying all the right things about Kyler Murray, but Jonathan Gannon talked about why he is sticking with Brissett.
Short week on to Seattle right now. Really good football team. Our guys will be enthused about the challenge that lies ahead. As it relates to the quarterback in Seattle, Jacoby will start. And Kyler will keep working on his health bucket. I do like what the offense is doing right now. We've operated well, and we'll go from there.
Is this still fully health related?
Yeah.
Why are you willing to rule Kyler out 5 days ahead of time this time?
I didn't rule him out.
Rule him out the possibility of him starting?
Yeah, I think, with the clarity that it provides, game planning for our team, I think that's important. Go from there.
We haven't obviously talked to Kyler in quite a while now. How's he dealing with all this?
He's doing well. He wants to be out there. You know what I mean? He's a competitor. I talked to him today, but he's a good teammate and he's working to get healthy.
Very interesting situation in the desert, without a doubt. All right, the Washington Commanders, their linebacker Frankie Louvu not going to be suspended for these hip drop tackles. It's already cost him a game check of over $500,000. Meanwhile, college football's playoff rankings revealed they look a lot like the AP Top 25, so there's really no mystery, I think, going into yesterday. Ohio State 1, Indiana 2, Texas A&M 3, Alabama is 4, and Georgia 5. Yes, 3 out of the 5 teams in the SEC and then the Big Ten, but naturally this is a playoff, folks. So anybody could win, but that is the top 5 as we head into the month of November. We're here already. Okay, undefeated season continuing last night for the Oklahoma City Thunder. They had to have a huge comeback in this one. 17-0 run from the third to the fourth quarter as OKC beat LA 126-107. They've now won 8 straight games to start the season. SGA, 30 points, 12 assists. Talked about this hot streak to start the year.
Yeah, it's a long game. We've have a bunch of games under our belt, and we understand that. I think the average swing in the NBA game is like 30 points or something like that, 20-some points. So, like, teams on average go up 10, go down 10. Like, the game's never over, especially when it's that early. So, you just got to chip away. You just got to kind of get the car back on the road, we call it, and start to do the things that help you gain a lead and erase the deficit. And that's all we focused on. That's all we talked about at halftime. We felt we were in a pretty good spot. Felt like we played the worst half of the season so far, and we're only down 1, I think. So, yeah, we knew we had a shot.
Red Hot Warriors continue to win. Going to have a hard time tonight. Not so much yesterday. Steph Curry had 28. Moses Moody 24. Warriors beat the Suns 118-107. Devin Booker did have 38 points in the loss. But after the game, Steve Kerr said that Steph Curry is going to sit out tonight because of a bad cold, and Jimmy Butler is also questionable to play, so probably both those guys out. Bulls beat the 76ers last night, and the Hawks beat the Orlando Magic. That's the NBA recap. Let's take a quick timeout here on NewsWire. We come back next. We will be joined by Michael DeCourcy. We'll dive into the latest in the National Football League and find out where we stand in the future as we head toward another Thursday night football game as well. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Don't go away.
What have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what, like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state, you're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. What a busy trade deadline day it was. Let's check in with Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News to get the latest recap. They kept his fingers typing yesterday, I'm sure, about all these different trades. And Mike, it was, basically the story yesterday was the Jets stealing the show for a number of different reasons. Number one, making trades to get their team better for the future. Also making trades to punt on this year. And the bigger question that I will ask you, is this a punt for next year as well. Sauce Gardner gets traded from the Jets to the Colts. That was the primary deal that started before Quentin Williams was the end result, where they traded him too. Jets are poised for the future, Mike. There's no question about that. They're going to have to get these picks right, I would add, too, in order to make this all worth it. But was this worth doing, punting for at least this season? I think next season, too, if we're being honest, for a run maybe in 2027? Is that realistic here? You tell me where you stand on this.
Yeah, I think it was a dreadful day for the Jets because I don't believe in trading away quality players for draft picks. Sauce Gardner was the 4th pick in the 2022 draft. He made All-Pro in each of his first 2 seasons, and then the Pro Bowl as well. You just don't get quality players like that with every draft pick. I looked at it. I said, okay, if you look at from 5 to 32 or 5 to 31 in the 1 year where we had a pick docked, if you look at that pool of players from 22 to 24, you had about a 20% chance of getting a Pro Bowl player of any quality. And a Pro Bowl is usually at least a pretty good player. I mean, Najee Harris is one of those guys. Mac Jones got into the Pro Bowl because all the quarterbacks didn't want to play. It's usually a pretty good player, and some of them have been outstanding, Jamar Chase and Patrick Surtain, et cetera. But the odds of getting a Sauce Gardner, even with 2 shots at it, are pretty poor. So with the salary cap, you need to pay somebody. It's not like if you strip it to the bones, then you can be fine. I mean, you still have to, over a 4-year period, pay 89% of the salary cap. So if you have quality players, you should be keeping them. And in the case of the Jets looking at maybe trying to get a quarterback, now we have all this draft capital. Well, you're the Jets. You don't need it. You're right now, you are positioned to be 1, 2, or 3 in the draft. And according to current situation, they're 3rd only because they have had their bye and the Saints have not. So they're going to get one of the early shots at a 2026 quarterback. They didn't need to have all this draft capital in order to do that. If you are very successful with those picks, you might be competitive by 29 or 30 if you're very successful. And if you're just adequately successful, where are you? You've traded away 2 quality players who can help you win football games, and you haven't. Obviously, you bought yourself some salary cap space that you can go out and buy somebody else, maybe that's a quality player, but he's probably not going to be as good as Sauce.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I was trying to be generous by thinking they could compete in 2027, but you make some good points here. And the other thing that I would say, too, is that, look, I mean, Cam Ward, to me, coming out of college, was the very best quarterback in the draft, and I still think he's going to be good. But the Jets could take a Cam Ward, who, by the way, there's no Cam Ward available in this draft, but let's say there was, they're going to have to go through it again, kind of similar to how Tennessee did. But hopefully the future will be brighter than the present for the Jets, and, certainly they do have a lot of picks. We'll see if they end up getting help with that. Meanwhile, let's go to the Colts here for a minute, Mike. They get Sauce Gardner pushing their foot on the pedal. Colts haven't been in this spot in a long time. And I think maybe the loss this past week really woke them up a little bit. Their odds are certainly very, very short to win the South. They're going to make the playoffs. Anything less, I think, than winning a first-round game, Mike, divisional game with the Colts would be a disappointment. I think the goal is to get to the Super Bowl, but realistically speaking, can they beat Buffalo or, can they beat Kansas City? I don't know the answer to that, but this is going to help, won't it?
Yeah, the one position that hasn't been solid for the Colts has been that secondary. They've had to try to do a lot of patching, and this solves a lot of problems. I mean, Sauce Gardner's an elite man-to-man cover corner. Really smart guy. You want to play a lot of man with him because you don't want him to make too many tackles. He's not super stout physically. So you basically want him out there so that nobody throws his way and he never has to make a play. I mean, that's the goal when you have somebody like Sauce. And he's not Darrelle Revis from that standpoint, but he's at least in that neighborhood, that zip code.
Mm-hmm.
And so
right.
I think it really helps the Colts a ton to make this move. And when you mentioned before about beating Buffalo, et cetera, that's the one thing about it, if you're the Colts right now, is that you look at it and you say, okay, Buffalo's been great, but they're a little shaky. The Chiefs have been great, but they're not even in playoff position right now. So I don't think you look at anybody in the AFC, if you're the Colts, and say, no chance. And I think you think that even less today now that you've got Sauce Gardner in your defensive backfield.
Yeah, it does make sense. Cowboys, you'll have to explain this one to me. So Quinnen Williams is their new defensive tackle. I mean, I suppose this trade is for now and for the future, and Jerry just doesn't like getting embarrassed at home, and usually when that happens, he makes trades. But coming out of their bye week, they'll play the Raiders, so they'll probably win that one. But then after that, like, how is Quinnen Williams going to get this team even to 500? I didn't even realize that they play the Raiders and the Eagles and the Chiefs and the Lions and the Chargers. Like, it doesn't get any easier. I mean, it'll be fun to see if this guy can help them, but I think that this feels like more of a trade for next year, Mike. I don't see Dallas winning more than 7-8 games. Do you?
Yeah, that's the trade by the Jets that I don't have a huge problem with, because you do get a one for a guy who's a very good player, not an elite player like Sauce Gardner. It certainly makes you better without a doubt, and he'll make the Cowboys better. But as you said, the schedule down the second half of the season is pretty daunting. What's interesting about that is that only 3 of their 8 remaining games are in playoff position. But among those that aren't are Washington with all the quarterback issues with Jaden Daniels, and then the Chiefs who struggled early and are starting to get it together and just couldn't win at Buffalo. Not many can. So I think it looks really tough for the Cowboys to find a way into the playoff picture. Again, you could say we're the Cowboys. What are the chances drafting 18th that we're going to get a player as good as Quinnen Williams? But you might have been able to get a player that's nearly as good and would be 22 or 23 instead of 28.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, Mike, great stuff as always. Enjoy this week in the NFL, and we'll catch up again next week.
You bet.
All right, he's not admitting it, but he's pivoting away from the NFL for some college basketball. Don't worry. Mike will be back with that in a couple of weeks. We'll be right back.
What have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what, like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor, because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
More college football previews coming your way. We'll look at BYU, Texas Tech, Oregon, Iowa, Texas A&M, and Missouri on the heels of the college football playoff rankings coming out. These are some big games coming up this week. We heard from the opposing coaches yesterday. Now we'll hear from the coaches on the other side today in the SportsGrid Sound Off. All right, so let's be honest. It's November. Who would have had Texas Tech as the 9th-ranked team in the country? Not a lot of people, but a win this week puts them right square into the college football playoffs, which is basically where you want to be, top 10 heading into Thanksgiving and heading into mid-November. So Texas Tech will play BYU this week, the number 8 versus number 9. Joey McGuire, the head coach of the Texas Tech Red Raiders, gives all the credit to BYU, saying it should be a good showdown this week, and also the Cougars should have been in that playoff last year.
The way they've played, I thought they were a playoff team last year. I thought they should have got ahead, should have got a bit ahead of SMU. They beat SMU head-to-head at SMU, and they got overlooked. But he's got a great team. He's a big culture guy. I really enjoy whenever I get a chance to spend time with him. Just so impressed with his team, but also so impressed with a freshman quarterback. I mean, you don't see a true freshman play at the level that his quarterback's playing at. He's got a big arm, can make all the throws, but he's also a huge load when you're trying to tackle him. I think he's 6'2", 230, runs the ball well. He's got great vision, good rush skills, and so we're going to have our hands full. I think when you look at the matchup, I mean, it's really cool. It's 8 versus 9, but I think it's the best game. There's a reason College Game Day is here. It's the best game in the country. I think it's going to be the most physical game in the country, and we've got to have a great week of work to prepare for, undefeated BYU Cougars.
Meanwhile, top 20 showdown between number 6 Oregon and 20th ranked Iowa. Of course, styles make fights, and the style of Iowa is running the ball and playing defense, and Oregon likes to open it up. The point spread, Ducks -6.5 on the road this week. Kirk Ferentz, the head coach of the Hawkeyes, says that Oregon will be the ultimate challenge for his team this week.
Very well coached. Coach Lanny's done a great job there in a short period of time. Specifically, you look back the last 2 years, there aren't many losses, on their resume. So they've been really playing at a high level. And that's with some new players this year too, and that's been impressive too. They've got recruited extremely well. They've got a veteran team, but they've also got a lot of young guys that are involved too, especially in the back end, skill positions, guys that are freshmen that are playing big roles and doing a really good job. So it's just an impressive mix and array. Offensively, I don't even know where you start. They're really good up front, which allows them to do a lot of things. Good quarterback play, good line play. And then they've got, good skill positions, the tight ends. They got it 2 deep there. It's really impressive. Receiver core is extremely talented. And then they've got 3 backs that are really, clipping right along, and they're doing a great job there. Defensively, they're really a disruptive team. Very, very aggressive, very talented, very disruptive. And again, well coached on that thing. And then special teams, they do a great job there. Got good specialists and a lot of good core players that clearly take a lot of pride in what they're doing. So be a big challenge for us, certainly, and, look forward to that coming up on Saturday.
And the other big marquee matchup in college football this week, number 3, Texas A&M goes to number 19, Missouri, where the Tigers will have a new signal caller, Bo Pribula, out for the season. Freshman Matt Zellers is going to start for Eli Drinkwitz this week. We'll see if he can get it done, but he seems to certainly have confidence in his ability.
There was a time in the early part of the season where Bo was a little bit beat up and Matt was getting extra reps with the ones, and those are going to pay off now for us. So that's been a real positive. We really were adamant throughout spring, throughout the summer, and even in fall camp to really focus on 3 spots to make sure that Matt was getting developed, because we knew he was the future of the program at the quarterback position, but the future is now. I think it's important for us not to put too high of expectations on Matt. He does not have to win this game by himself. He's got a really good core of players around him. We just have to play complementary football in all 3 phases. Defensively, got to do a really good job of slowing them down. Special teams has got to do a great job covering kicks. And then offensively, everybody, coaches, players, everybody has to reduce the friction that Matt feels. And so that'll be the challenge this week. He just needs to be himself, and we're excited for the opportunity.
Also, one quick note from the NFL. James Cook, running back of the Buffalo Bills, questionable for the upcoming game this week. Sam McQuillan's up next. Don't go away.
what have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows, I got my skewers, I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, you know, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Always great to catch up with Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report because so much news in the sports betting space. Felt like last year was kind of a quiet year, honestly. This year has not been the case. All right, Sam is back with us. Very interesting post by Sam. I think I would say everyone has to read this story because it's really a lot to unpack here over at LegalSportsReport.com. But some integrity being questioned as Coinbase's CEO ends up having an earnings call and seems to allude the fact that perhaps he was joking about manipulating a market that they have interest in, meaning like space in, meaning like money invested in. So I'm going to need you, Sam, to unpack as much as you can. And again, as a companion to this conversation, folks, please head over to LegalSportsReport.com and read. But Sam, take it away.
Yeah, thanks for setting me up, Craig. There's a wild story we have last week. The CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong, was on his company's earnings call. And if you know anything about prediction markets, they actually offer what you can bet on that a CEO will say on the call. So there are these markets on Kalshi and markets on Polymarket where you could bet on what Armstrong would say. Now, finishing the call up as a CEO normally would, he rattled off the following words: Bitcoin, Ethereum, blockchain, staking, Web3, with the caveat that he had been monitoring what people were betting on him to say on the prediction markets. On Kalshi, $80,000 was bet on if he would say one of those words, and on Polymarket, $4,000. After he did this, he went on to X and then wrote a post saying, quote, "LOL, this was fun. Happened spontaneously when someone on our team dropped a link in the chat." That was met with a slew of replies, anywhere from, this is the most wholesome market manipulation I've ever seen. Not sure why you think this is funny. Posting a losing ticket saying I'm going to contact my lawyer. And another one saying I would have thought you ran this by legal. As you mentioned, Craig, Coinbase has stake in these companies. Coinbase is an investor in both Kalshi and Polymarket. And on the call, Armstrong went as far to say that Coinbase was going to look into launching its own prediction market on its platform in the future, whether that's through itself or through a partnership with one of those companies. This obviously calls into question a number of the concerns we've touched on this show with prediction markets, which really kind of function with no guardrails to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen. They can post any market they want and start taking bets immediately because they can self-certify, as long as they later prove that, these markets haven't been subject to manipulation. But that would require someone to actually ask that question. And as we know, the platform or the agency that's supposed to regulate prediction markets has functionally not done anything with them under the Trump administration. You only have 1 out of 5 commissioners on the board currently. Now, I did catch up with Coinbase, who said that these comments were made in a lighthearted, offhand way to reference the online discussion around the earnings call, and also maintained that it has robust policies and internal controls to prevent Armstrong or other employees from contributing to prediction markets tied to what they say. Again, these are things that the company says it has. There are no real regulations that we know of in place from the agency that oversees it to prevent this kind of thing from happening. You've had instances over this past year where there was a huge dispute on a Zelensky suit market. $200 million was wagered on what color suit the Ukrainian president would wear. Some people said it was gray. Some people said it was more of an off-white blue. And the market flipped back and forth and caused a lot of, turmoil. The only, there's no state, there's no regulator that makes this decision. It was a Kalshi decision. Later, you had Polymarket with a similar incident with a deal concerning the U.S. and Ukraine, a minerals deal that was hit by a governance attack where someone allegedly with access to the platform settlement system supposedly manipulated the market and settled it incorrectly, and it was never reversed. Now, no one has policed this. Meanwhile, we have Congress calling for looking into what sports books are doing in wake of NBA betting scandals with Terry Rozier, asking sports books to do more, demanding answers as to why they didn't catch these people before they happened. And then the same week, you have a CEO of a company with stake in a prediction market that takes bets on what he's going to say, coming out joking about manipulating it, and real money at stake being cost here. So it's really a crazy incident, and I would say it just highlights the lack of regulation or answers or care or really anything going on from a federal level about this stuff. Meanwhile, federal lawmakers focus on sports betting.
Yeah, no, it's been a wild story, and the more this steam rolls, it's just shocking to me that there's states have kind of jumped in a little bit to try and regulate it, but other than that, you're right, at a federal level, absolutely nothing. Okay, so we know that across the country we're seeing more money bet on sports than anything recreational around the world. It's just happening. Now, Pennsylvania is one of those states that started off legalizing sports betting with what most would consider a pretty reasonable tax rate on that. But with them seeing what's going on in a lot of other places, it feels like, Sam, they're the next shoe to drop, so to speak, as far as trying to get more money out of consumers in a new sports betting tax.
Yeah, Pennsylvania actually legalized sports betting before states were even allowed to legalize it. They did it before the Supreme Court repealed PASPA. And at the time, they imposed a tax on sports books that wasn't just considered reasonable, it was considered sky high for sports books. It was 36% at the time, which still stands today as one of the highest taxes, although New York has gone beyond that with 51%, and states like Illinois and Ohio have raised their rates as well. But now Pennsylvania is coming back to the drawing table amid a gap in budget discussions with the governor. Governor Josh Shapiro and Pennsylvania lawmakers, I'm told, are discussing ways to bridge that budget gap, which revolve around increasing sports betting taxes, as well as taxes on iGaming and iCasino products in Pennsylvania as well. Now, this is really interesting because we've seen a number of states increase their tax rates over the past years. We've seen Ohio double their rate only a year after they introduced it. And then most recently, Illinois, which went from a 15% flat rate to 40% for the highest operators like DraftKings and FanDuel. And then again this year with the 25-cent to 50-cent per bet fee tax, which operators then in turn passed down to Illinois customers. And I'm told that if Pennsylvania does not just a per bet fee tax or anything like that, if they raise tax rates at all again this year, sports books will be inclined, like they did in Illinois, to then pass that down to customers. You have Illinois customers now have to give 25 cents or 50 cents per bet to the customers, to the sports books in Illinois. And that's going to get passed down again in Pennsylvania if this kind of thing happens. So it's kind of a threat they're putting out there. We'll see what comes to shake on the sports betting front, but it's another kind of, crazy discussion in the legislature right now. Hopefully it doesn't happen.
Yeah, and as I said before we close out our segment here, we're just a few weeks away from the state of Missouri legalizing sports betting. That seems like all systems go. I've heard very little over the past month. I just assume that you'll be covering it for Legal Sports Report on December the 1st, correct?
Yeah, to your earlier comment about how much news we've had in sports betting this year, it's kind of crazy that the one state that's launching has really gone under the radar. But yeah, all things are going according to plan, and it's kind of a good thing that you haven't heard any new news. We've got December 1st as a timeline for it, so industry will be happy about another state in the belt.
All right, Sam, thanks for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Thanks, Greg.
Simon Applebaum is up next, but first, let's give you the latest in Major League Baseball. It's the hot stove season, so we've got some free agency news as well. The Braves have exercised their club option on Chris Sale, so Sale's going to stay with the Braves. Shane Bieber picked up his $16 million option with the Blue Jays. He could have become a free agent, made a lot more money. Jack Flaherty stays in Detroit. Salvador Perez, no surprise, going to stay with Kansas City, probably finishes his career in the next 2 years. Up next, Simon Applebaum tells us how many folks were watching this year's World Series. Spoiler alert, a lot. We'll be right back.
Jeremiah Love is a player that you have to keep an eye out on just because of a running back, his versatility, how good he is in the receiving game this year. We haven't seen a running back potentially crack the top three when you just think about it with the Heisman Trophy back there. Jeremiah Love just dominant. If Notre Dame wins out and they're in the college football playoff, Love should be involved in the conversation.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Starts off on a positive note of getting Lamar Jackson back Thursday night, which was great. He threw for 200 yards, did not look rusty at all. He only rushed for 15, but he didn't really need that. Lamar Jackson also threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of which going to Mark Andrews. So guess who's back and relative again at the tight end position now that Lamar's back? Oh, wait, it's Mark Andrews. No kidding. I mean, the guy just catches touchdowns. It's Lamar's favorite guy in the red zone.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly, Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Blue Jays are going to be dangerous for years to come because they have money. They're a fun team. Other players like Guerrero, the Blue Jays are a first-class organization. They treat the players very well. They're first-class complex. As I stated earlier, you can live like across the street from the stadium and there's no drama. You don't have to sit in traffic ever. You have an entire country that buys your jerseys and are big fans of yours.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Major League Baseball Communications just sent this tweet out on social media. 51 million people across the globe watching Game 7 of the World Series, which means this is the most watched game in baseball in 34 years. Wow, that's a long time. Let's bring in Simon Applebaum from the podcast Tomorrow Will Be Televised. And Simon, this just goes to show that, you get a very compelling, competitive series between two teams. And listen, I understand very much international with, the team playing in Canada and Toronto and Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and everybody else. But dare I say, I mean, I think these ratings would have been super high anyway. It was just great baseball. Next day, people talking about the games, and the biggest win for Major League Baseball in some time.
You better believe it, Craig. This was the most compelling World Series in a very long time. And you mentioned some of the reasons why. You had a team from either New York or Los Angeles playing. You had a USA-Canada matchup. You had Ohtani. You had Yamamoto, who became a superstar and an MVP, given his an amazing, one of the great pitching performances in recent World Series or baseball history. You had compelling games. You had 2 games in extra innings. And with all of that, you mentioned the 51 million or so worldwide. Fox had 26.9 million of them. That's Fox alone. You add another 300,000 from Fox Support just in Spanish. It was the best Fox World Series performance on U.S. television in 8 years. And for the whole World Series, that's just for the final game. For the entire World Series, 15.7 million average. That's also the best in 8 years. And credit goes to Major League, both the Toronto Blue Jays and Los Angeles Dodgers, and also to Joe Davis. His play-by-play from Game 1 to the end was magnificent. Davis, by the way, won the Sports Emmy Award for Best Play-by-Play. He is well on the way to winning another one next May, given what he did. Absolutely terrific. And speaking of Fox, something else going to be dealing with next year is how they're dealing with Live Golf. If you haven't heard the news, Live Golf this morning announced that they're going from a 3-day Friday, Sunday to a 4-day Thursday, Sunday format, 72 holes. They're doing that because they want to get their key players like Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau to qualify for World Golf Rankings. They can't do that now because of the 3-day format. With the 4-day, they can. What's going to be interesting to see is how Fox is going to play that. My guess is Fox Sports 1 is going to carry the Thursday afternoon action, and then it's going to be between Fox and Fox Sports 1 for the remaining days. It's going to be very interesting to see how Fox covers Live Golf in what is going to be their 5th year in business.
The NBA, meanwhile, has definitely seen a dip in interest and product viewing. I mean, there's just no question about that, and the numbers state that as well. NBA on NBC, however, may be bringing some of those viewers back. It was a very strong Simon first week, I know, for the NBA. I'm curious to see, by the way, how that works out this week. I know that some of the coverage was regional. I noticed, if I'm not mistaken, the Magic Hawks was the NBA's game last night, so I don't know what kind of ratings that is going to get. But first week, very good for the NBA and NBC.
Yes, 5.6 million people on average for the doubleheader, the opening doubleheader tip-off. That was, by the way, the best since 2010 when that was on TNT. The second week, that's last Tuesday, because you had the coast-to-coast format where East Coast and Central Time gets the first game, then Mountain Zone and Pacific get in their 8 to 11 time window, 3 million on average, which, by the way, compared to other broadcast network shows, is below what they would normally get. ESPN, by the way, which now has Wednesday and Thursday doubleheaders, not Wednesday, Friday as they used to. They had 2.2 million people on average for their doubleheader games. And then Prime Video, in their opening one for Friday, it was 1.2, 1.3 million. Now, when you think about it, by the way, this was up 16% from ESPN's Friday doubleheader at the same time a year ago. So I think Prime Video is a lot to be excited about. And the Pro Show, by the way, had about 780,000 viewers. So everybody came up pretty well. The thing about NBC is going to be how they're going to do from now on with the coast-to-coast situation, because of the fact that right now primetime shows are getting roughly between, on the broadcast networks, are getting roughly between, and that's ABC, CBS, NBC, between 4 to 6 million people a pop. Higher is usually 60 Minutes and Sunday Night Football. So we'll see how things go as this coast-to-coast format goes. And by the way, no word yet on how Peacock has been doing with their NBA Monday night games.
So the big streaming and broadcast story of the week continues, Simon, and it does seem to me that what I'm reading may be true, and I'd love you to weigh in on this. So YouTube TV last week, we found out with another carriage dispute, would not be carrying ESPN and all the Disney networks. And, generally when these things happen, Simon, it pops back on right before the big game, right before college football, right before Monday Night Football. But Simon, what I seem to be reading here is that this is all ESPN, meaning that they are dug in on this because they want their app to be purchased and they want people buying their app, and they think YouTube TV is in the way. I mean, is there even an amount of money that the Disney company will take here, or are they just going to put YouTube TV out of business with this?
It remains to be seen, but I'll tell you this, you hit it on the head. This is not just a carriage dispute over money, how much YouTube TV would pay additionally to carry all the ABC Walt Disney-owned networks. And by the way, ABC tried to say to YouTube TV, hey, give us a break with our election night coverage last night. We're willing to put put our services on so that if you decide to take our election night coverage. And what did YouTube TV say? No way. I think there's two problems here. One is the carriage fee, which is usually the case in these disputes. But the other thing, you hit it, which is carrying ESPN's mega content app, as they call it, the unlimited app. And there's this question about how YouTube TV would get it for the lowest possible price. That is the issue. And that is the sticking point that is not allowing the Disney services to go on YouTube TV. So far, no furor among the YouTube TV's 10 million subscribers. But that could change. We get more toward better college football games, Thanksgiving Day, Black Friday, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, I don't know. J.J. Watt doesn't seem to be too happy. That's what I saw on social media. Okay, so growing up watching football as I did in the 1980s, Bob Trumpy and Don Criqui were essentially the number 1 or number 2 team, if I'm not mistaken, on CBS. I believe it was CBS Pro Football.
NBC, Craig, NBC.
Oh, it was NBC. My bad. I forgot. NBC. I think they were like always the 2 or the 3 group, if I'm not mistaken. He passed away at the age of 80. Kind of sad here for me.
On Sunday, what John Madden was as an analyst of NFL games on CBS and Fox, Bob Trumpy was. He was authoritative, no nonsense, great for the fans, also very versatile for NBC. He did Olympics, he did Ryder Cup, he called 4 Super Bowls, both on TV and on radio. And you're right, his work with Don Criqui, his work with Dick Enberg down the stretch, who had Merlin Olsen originally as the number 1 pair, absolutely marvelous. One of the very best as an NFL analyst.
Thanks, Simon. Have a great week.
You too.
Jeremiah Love is a player that you have to keep an eye out on just because of a running back, his versatility, how good he is in the receiving game this year. We haven't seen a running back potentially crack the top 3 when you just think about it with the Heisman Trophy back there. Jeremiah Love just dominant. If Notre Dame wins out and they're in the college football playoff, Love should be involved in the conversation.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Starts off on a positive note of getting Lamar Jackson back Thursday night, which was great. He threw for 200 yards, did not look rusty at all. He only rushed for 15, but he didn't really need that. Lamar Jackson also threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of which going to Mark Andrews. So guess who's back and relative again at the tight end position now that Lamar's back? Oh, wait, it's Mark Andrews. No kidding. I mean, the guy just catches touchdowns. It's Lamar's favorite guy in the red zone.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly, Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Blue Jays are going to be dangerous for years to come because they have money. They're a fun team. Other players like Guerrero, the Blue Jays are a first-class organization. They treat the players very well. They're first-class complex. As I stated earlier, you can live like across the street from the stadium and there's no drama. You don't have to sit in traffic ever. You have an entire country that buys your jerseys and are big fans of yours.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I don't know if you caught this yesterday on social media, and it's funny, our producer Frank, he's like, did you see this kid crying about the trades of New York Jets? I'm like, yeah, I saw it. It was like a week ago. The kid walking out of the stadium all upset. He said he was born into this. I don't know if you see that viral. And it had nothing to do with that. These poor Jets fans, they just can't have enough joy in their life, like watching the Jets. A lot of losses, a lot of trades. And yesterday, another viral video of a kid crying because the Jets traded Sauce Gardner, kind of sad here. So that's what happened, and we're gonna check the reaction from the early line here. Donnie Rightside, Joe Ranieri, as they weigh in on the trades that were made yesterday by the New York Jets. And by the way, some of these trades could potentially set them up for the future. I know it's going to be a very hard present, and next year probably doesn't look good as well. But sometimes you just got to tear it down to get right. Here's Donnie and Joe on the early line reacting to the video.
My very first jersey I got as an Eagles fan, Joe, was Reggie White. Now, granted, I was a little bit older when Reggie White left in free agency and not, basically second, third, or fourth grade, where I would have been devastated if my dad came in and goes, hey, Donnie, Reggie just got traded. Where? No! Like, that's what happened. Let's play this video on a young, passionate Jets fan getting ready for more pain that his dad is going to deliver this news.
And it's okay, okay? The Jets traded Sauce today.
To where? To where?
No, it's okay.
I don't get that. It's like I get a rivalry jersey.
It's okay. I'll get you a different one. He went to Indianapolis, and they also traded. They also traded Quinn Williams.
I play Sunday deal.
He did, but so did Sauce.
No, I don't like the Jets. That did Quincy leave?
No, Quincy's still there. No, it's fine. Quinn and Williams on the Cowboys. Sauce went to the Colts. It's okay.
I want the Colts now.
Guess what? We got 3 first-round picks for it. So we have 3.
I love that.
Fantastic. Joe, the kid is like, the best thing about it too is like it's his favorite player, but his first notion is, I just got his jersey. That is fantastic theater playing out in real time.
Yeah, Donnie, honestly, I can so relate to that kid. I've been doing that every year for about 40 some odd years now as born into being a Jet fan. And that's it. Usually it happens by week 3. That's usually when the tears and the tantrums come in for me, and I burn everything that has a New York Jets logo on it, only for people to buy it all back for me for Christmas, and then I burn it again the next year. So I can relate to that kid there in that spot. I know exactly what it feels like, my man.
I love it, man. And again, like as a kid, like you make determinations based on your favorite player, and favorite players are usually the best players on the team. So when you get jerseys and hats, and you become a fan. Like I'm going to watch this guy for 5, 6, 7, 8 years on my favorite team and be great. And the fact that you're like, hey, you know what, Dad, get me a Sauce Gardner jersey. Awesome, he just signed, only to get traded away. And if you are a Jets fan, like some of these young kids are just watching these Jets game with their dad, that's born down. It's tradition there where it's like, okay, well, at least I get to watch Sauce Gardner play, and that's my fun. And this kid got hit in real time. My favorite player on the team that I watch on Sunday who stinks, now he's not here. And his response was, I'm not even a Jets fan anymore. I love him, man. I do.
Well, I love that. He says, I want to be a Colts fan now. Believe me, man, I can relate, kid. I can absolutely relate to your pain. Welcome to our world. Welcome to being a New York Jets fan, guy. I love it.
Like you wear it, like eventually there's supposed to be like to go with that heartache, like celebrations. Like again, me as an Eagles fan, we haven't had the same path as the Jets, where the Jets like always bad outside like Mark Sanchez and Rex Ryan knocking off the Patriots in the playoffs, right? Like we didn't have those type of lows, but it was always like we never get to the top of the mountain. But it's passed down a generation. Donnie, you're an Eagles fan. Here's what's going to happen. Good regular seasons, absolutely devastating defeats in the playoffs, but that's just the way it is. But when we saw just a couple weeks ago, like outside the stadium, looked like a teenage Jets fan, like, hey, tell me about the Jets. And you can see the darkness in his eyes. But the thing I love about Jets fans is he's like, I hate this team. I'm born into it, but I will always be a Jets fan. But I hate this team. Like, I love that passion from guys and franchises that just treat their fans with such disrespect, not because they don't think they're trying to win. It's like, give them something to cheer for, but you know they're back every single year, man. Sooner than later, the Jets fans will get to the top of that mountain. But I respect the struggle of every Jets fan right now saying, there's no hope, but I'm still a Jets fan.
I said it, Donnie. Yesterday was my Super Bowl with the New York Jets because they finally looked themselves in the mirror and it finally came to the conclusion, right? And the realization that, God, we suck. This is not going to work. Like, you can't. What is the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different outcome. Finally, the Jets said, you know what? New regime, new head coach, new beginning. We gotta tear it down, and that's exactly what they did.
Jeremiah Love is a player that you have to keep an eye out on just because of a running back, his versatility, how good he is in the receiving game this year. We haven't seen a running back potentially crack the top three when you just think about it with the Heisman Trophy back there. Jeremiah Love just dominant. If Notre Dame wins out and they're in the college football playoff, Love should be involved in the conversation.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Starts off on a positive note of getting Lamar Jackson back Thursday night, which was great. He threw for 200 yards, did not look rusty at all. He only rushed for 15, but he didn't really need that. Lamar Jackson also threw for 4 touchdowns, 2 of which going to Mark Andrews. So guess who's back and relative again at the tight end position now that Lamar's back? Oh, wait, it's Mark Andrews. No kidding. I mean, the guy just catches touchdowns. It's Lamar's favorite guy in the red zone.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
Fly, Pelican, more like grounded Pelican. The Pelicans are 0-6 to start the season. Their main guys aren't their main guys. And it comes to a point where, what do you do if you are Joe Dumars and the leadership of New Orleans?
Pro Basketball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Blue Jays are going to be dangerous for years to come because they have money. They're a fun team. Other players like Guerrero, the Blue Jays are a first-class organization. They treat the players very well. They're first-class complex. As I stated earlier, you can live like across the street from the stadium and there's no drama. You don't have to sit in traffic ever. You have an entire country that buys your jerseys and are big fans of yours.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Thursday Night Football is on deck, and so let's take a brief look at that and the rest of the National Football League with our next guest. He is Adam Kaufman, all ready to break down this week's NFL slate. Adam, great to have you back here on NewsWire ahead of Thursday Night Football. And, I don't know. I mean, these games sometimes go sideways on Thursday nights. That's sort of what I'm hoping here a little bit. What a dud we had last week. My gosh, the Ravens just destroyed the Dolphins. You could have turned that thing off in the second quarter, but Raiders taking on the Denver Broncos tonight, or Thursday night, excuse me, where the Broncos are obviously massive favorites coming into this one, total 42.5. Bo Nix has been pretty inconsistent, I would say, this season. He's had several good games and also a few good quarters, but the Broncos defense has done a good job keeping them in games, which was kind of what happened last week too. Total 42.5. I hesitate to lay points in the National Football League, but generally speaking, favorites have been the way to go outside of last week this season.
Well, looking at last week and last Thursday in particular, as you noted, that Ravens really very easy game against the Dolphins. The questions going into that one, really it just surrounded Lamar Jackson. Is Lamar going to be himself coming back from injury? And if he is, he should absolutely destroy a Dolphins team that was shockingly coming off a win. This was a true identity crisis kind of game for both of those teams, and it played out as it should have. Boring? Maybe. You could make that case, but if you invest in Baltimore and survivor pools, you were sweat-free, living the high life at halftime. You could go, do something else. And I think, Craig, a lot of people are going to be operating similarly this week. Denver is the better team. I expect the Broncos, this is what I'm going to be doing. I think the Broncos are going to be a popular survivor team to hopefully get it out of the way and enjoy the weekend. Now, to your point, I'm not sure that I'm in a hurry to lay the points. It's a big number, and who knows, we could be seeing tens out there by the time kickoff rolls around. But money line parlays, you have my attention. I think the Broncos are the, clearly the better team, the hot team. You've got 6 straight wins for this Denver squad, which is sitting tied with the Colts and the Patriots, top the AFC East right now at 7-2. Bo Nix, I'm not the biggest Bo Nix believer, but this is a bad defense, particularly a bad secondary on the other side for the Raiders that Nix is going to find a way to attack, and I don't think he's going to have a whole lot of trouble doing it. Even with Max Crosby, they don't bring a lot of pressure, so I don't think that's going to be an issue. It should be a fine run game for whether it's J.K. Dobbins, R.J. Harvey, the pairing, however it winds up shaking out in terms of Sean Payton's workload. On the other side for the Raiders, the Broncos, we know they bring pressure. So Geno Smith, like, you may as well invest in him to have an interception. He probably turns the ball over multiple times in this game. Jacoby Myers is gone, dealt yesterday to Jacksonville, and so you've got a really thin pass-catching group there for the Raiders on a short week outside of Brock Bowers, who finally looks right to his credit, but there's only so much he can do by himself against a good defense on the other side. And it's not a particularly good matchup, for Ashton Genty. Love Genty, but, this is a good defense against the run here. So I think the Broncos, really, it's tempting to lay the number. I mean, this should be a comfortable win for Denver ultimately, especially at home.
Yeah, I didn't hear a word you said after Survivor. Are you still alive in a Survivor pool? There's no chance.
Believe it or not, I had three entries in the particular pool that I'm in, and I'm down to one. And
who'd you have last week?
Last week I wanted to use Baltimore, and I second guessed myself because of the Lamar Jackson injury. So ultimately I went with the Chargers, which was way sweatier than it should have been.
Yeah.
But we got through.
Yeah, because everybody that had Green Bay last week, there were so many people that got knocked out of that. And then if not, Detroit was a huge favorite against Minnesota. They lose that game outright too. I'm shocked you're still alive. Good by you.
Yeah, it probably, if I had them available, I likely would have gone with the Rams, but unfortunately I didn't, and so had to make kind of a tough call, and it was a tough call, but, either one would have gotten me through. The Ravens just would have been more comfortable. This week, though, a lot of the heavier favorites outside of Denver I don't have available, so again, it becomes who do you trust, and I don't really trust Denver, to be perfectly honest, but, among the teams that I have to choose from, this is kind of the favorite for me.
It is. I agree. To me, the Raiders, of all the teams in the NFL, maybe Atlanta a little bit, but the Raiders are the freakiest team in the NFL. Like, they win these unexpected games. They don't win a lot, but when they win, it's like, where did that come from? So let's take a look. You alluded to this, Geno Smith. I don't recall seeing this that often. Maybe Tyler Shuck has these odds, but you said that, just bet Geno to throw an interception. You can't even do it. It's minus 170 on FanDuel. Like, this is rare to see. This guy, you can't bet that. Geno Smith, 212 passing yards. Bo Nix is 215 passing yards. Let's flip it, guys. Luke, let's flip it over to the rushing yards here. So Dobbins 71.5, Genty 55.5. The one that I kind of like here a little bit on an over, I don't love overs, but would be R.J. Harvey. I feel like Sean Payton's got to wake up a little bit and use this guy a little. Every time he touches the ball, he does something. Why are they holding out? Could he not block on third down? Like, what's going on with this guy?
Well, I think part of it, too, this is just a narrative that you could almost, it doesn't cash every week, but you can almost blind bet it every week. It is profitable long term. Short weeks, these Thursday night games, the backup running backs, generally speaking, your lead backs, and we know it's Dobbins. Look at those prop numbers, but your lead backs generally on a short week, don't get really, I guess, pardon the pun, run into the ground. This is a spot where coaches deliberately will look to work in their backs, the depth backs, just to give the first guy a blow, right? Make sure that he's not overextended and potentially getting hurt, running into too many linemen, whatever it may be. And so I'm with you. I think Harvey, of that grouping that we were just looking at, Harvey's absolutely the play, not only because he's capable of getting that literally on one run, but because I would expect him to have anywhere between, let's call it, 5 and 8 carries at minimum. And if that happens, you're not even asking for 25 yards.
Yeah, he was really good 2 weeks ago when he scored. They did nothing until he scored this past week, and yet they still don't really use him that often. It's strange. So is Brock Bowers going to get a defensive coordinator fired this week? How is he going to hit the 66.5? Jacksonville should be ashamed of themselves with the way that this guy was running all over the field. He's the last man standing. I know Trey Tucker is good, but how many targets is Bowers going to get? 10, 11 Thursday night?
How good is Trey Tucker actually? The only reason his name is on this graphic is because, again, Jacoby Myers was traded. He's unavailable. So I'm with you. I think this is going to be a case where if you believe the game script, right? And I always say going into these types of things, you got to tell yourself a story. How do you expect it to play out, and then kind of bet accordingly? If I believe the Broncos are going to win this thing and they're going to be ahead most of this thing and maybe comfortably at that and not running as much, then or not running as much on the other side, then ultimately that means Geno Smith, when he's not turning the ball over, is going to be throwing the ball ideally into his own wide receiver or pass catcher's hands. And that top of the list, almost with an exclamation point, to the point where you don't consider anybody else, is obviously Brock Bowers. And so, yeah, feels like a low total. I would have expected that to be sitting in the mid 70s with Myers gone. I mean, you're removing a guy that you look to for 50 plus receiving yards. He's just gone. How much are you really going to get out of Trey Tucker? Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't see him out there delivering 75 yards for you or something like that. So I think Brock Bowers, like you said, he could easily have double-digit targets in this game. He could theoretically on short pickups have double-digit receptions. But, for him to get to, let's just call it 70-plus yards, I don't think that's a terribly, heavy lift for him.
No, it's not. But, I mean, Denver, all they have to do is stop that guy. They have no one else literally on offense. All right, let's do this. Let's take a quick...
He's out.
I mean, he's the only good player on offense on the Raiders. Genti may be good in the future. He's done nothing this season. I cannot imagine him blowing up against this team on Thursday night, but we'll see. All right, Falcons Colts preview coming up next. You're watching NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Kaufman's going to stick around with us. Don't go away.
What have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. They're not. It's what, like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's what I used to hate about them. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like, their clubhouse dynamic, I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Adam Kaufman here to break down some of these games against the spread in the NFL. Take a look at some props potentially as well. Sunday morning, Adam, we're back to 9:30 a.m. games here for a bit. This one is in Berlin, and at least we got a pretty good matchup, I think, on paper. Colts taking on the Falcons, and Indy -6.5, and the total is 48.5. So that's what I get excited about. So that tells me sort of, even if it doesn't go over the total, we're going to get 5-6 touchdowns in this game. We know the Falcons can move the ball. It's just been really inconsistent for them. And the Colts, outside of, what would you say, like 6 bad quarters, have been phenomenal this year. So it should be a good watch.
Yeah, not a lot of punts out of this Indianapolis team. Now, in fairness, the offense was not particularly good last week against, who was it, the Steelers that they faced? I'm trying to remember. Yeah, it was. Steelers beat them.
Yeah.
So Indy, a good opening drive, scored that touchdown, and, from there, I think just held to 20 points in the game. So, I'd like to think that Daniel Jones and company are viewing themselves as kind of in a get-right spot, like you said, not at home, but in Berlin, early game for everybody, though. They're all dealing with this at the same time. On paper, and I think in reality, the Colts are the team that I trust to at least win this game. I'm not sure about covering the nearly touchdown number. Like you said, I expect points. The total has risen from open by 3 points. It was 45.5 up to 48.5 now at, almost universally at this point in time. Jonathan Taylor, who, if the most valuable player award ever actually went to a non-quarterback at this day and age, he'd be right there in the conversation. Instead, he's the favorite for Offensive Player of the Year, but he should run all over this Falcons run defense. It's not good at all. So Taylor should go off, probably scores multiple touchdowns in this game. The issue is, you take Jonathan Taylor to score 2 TDs, and you're still probably paying like plus 170, right? You're not getting a good number on that, unfortunately, because the guy is such a machine in the red zone. On the other side, and this is, I said the Colts probably covered the number. The reason I say probably is because this Falcons team that's coming off this loss to the Patriots is so just Jekyll and Hyde, really frustrating. We've seen Atlanta beat Buffalo. We've seen Atlanta get shut out 30-0 by Carolina. Like, you don't know week to week what the hell you're going to get out of this team. Colts do bring pressure, an almost surprising amount of pressure, top 5 in the NFL. Michael Penix Jr. in his brief career does not handle pressure particularly well. It's not a great rushing matchup for Bijan Robinson. I expect he'll still be impactful in this game, but probably more so as a pass catcher than as a running back purely. But, this to me, unless I want to talk myself into the 6.5 or whatever the number sits at the moment for Atlanta, Indy feels like the right side here. But admittedly, early games, body clocks, international play, all that stuff, it has to come into play.
So with the South, the Colts are minus 280. A little bit of a bump because of Sauce Gardner. Obviously, if you want to bet the Colts to do anything, wait a week or something here. You're not going to get any good value when a team makes a trade like this. You got to wait a little bit for them to lose or something like that. Okay, so the game of the week.
They're going for it.
Obviously. This is the game of the year in the NFL. Browns and Jets this week. Browns minus 2.5. Lowest total in the NFL all season in any game. 37.5. The Jets made some trades yesterday, of course, trading Sauce Gardner and Quentin Williams. And Aaron Glenn met with the media today talking about what the future may hold.
Nothing different than I've been saying. Listen, I want this to be a team that the fans are proud of. But again, I never said that we're going to be proud of them right now. At some point, I want this to be a team that that the fans are proud of, and I still stick with that. And I will still say that this is a team that the fans will be proud of. And I'm not going to get into the patience and all that type of crap that you always hear. But I will tell you this: our guys are working. We're going to continue to work. And again, I'm going to stand by that statement. I want this to be a team that the fans are proud of. So don't let go of the rope. You've heard me say that before. And just continue to watch us work.
He had a good run, Adam. He had a really good run here.
That's an embarrassing comment. That is a terrible comment from Aaron Glenn. Fans are going to be proud of this team. Yeah, maybe not now, but at some point, you'll see. I might be long gone, and half this roster may have turned over. But at some point, fans are going to be proud of that New York Jets green once again. I don't know what they're doing there. And look, I was not high on the Jets coming into the year. I didn't understand why so many people like the over 5.5 wins. I didn't bet the under. I just kind of stayed away from it. But this is not a team that at any point I believed in. And it's really kind of amazing, how the mighty have fallen, except the Jets were never mighty. We just talked about them like they were mighty. They go out, they get Aaron Rodgers, and they're sitting there, among the best Super Bowl odds or worse, depending on how you look at it, right? They're near the top of the board to win the championship when they acquire Rodgers because of all this talent around him. They were just a quarterback away. Well, they're still a quarterback away, and a whole bunch of other things. Like you said, Gardner's gone. Williams is gone. They've blown up the defense. Breece Hall, you saw his tweet. He's miserable at what's happening right now, wishing he got traded. Garrett Wilson, not a good situation for him. Justin Fields, the owner hates him openly. The only reason that Fields is starting right now is because Tyrod Taylor got hurt. I would love to bet the Jets this week. I really would, but I can't. I just can't. How could you possibly invest in this team? And by the way, Cleveland sucks too. Like you made the reference to, it's been a good run for Aaron Glenn. If ever there were an organization that knows about having a head coach for only 1 year and then turn the thing over, it's Cleveland on the other side. Cleveland has more stability right now than New York in the Meadowlands, this team. It's a mess. It is a total mess, and it's not getting any better. I mean, they're sitting right here. What's the record? Owen, have they even 1-7? Is that what it is? Right, 1-7, 0-5 at home right now. 1-7, 0-5 at home. I mean, this team, if it's smart, just continue to keep stockpiling those draft picks. You went out, you got a bunch of impactful ones and trading away those two guys. Now do yourselves a favor and tank to the top of the draft.
Yeah. I opened up the show, Adam. I said that we're going to have a good show. I never said today we're going to have a good show, but I said we're going to have a good show in the future. I didn't say today.
Yeah, could be Friday. Who knows?
I got nothing. Maybe tomorrow. Not today. I didn't say today though. Thanks, Adam. Have a good weekend.
It's like the practice rate. We're talking about practice.
Oof.
Not a game.
Gonna hurt.
Not a game.
It's gonna hurt.
Practice.
What have the Jays done all season long? And you've seen it, Kev, as a fan of the AL East. Yep. They get murdered or lose a heartbreaking game and come back and punch you in the face. Mm-hmm. They're not. It's what like the old Jays team used to fold, and that's. These guys are different. They're like guys you go to war with. It's like, man, you're my buddy. Like, let's go. Like their clubhouse dynamic. I've never seen a Blue Jay team where everyone gets along.
Game time decisions only on SportsGrid.
Apparently, he's a pretty darn good defensive coordinator. The 49ers are decimated by injury. This guy's doing it again. Wade Phillips, Norv Turner, all these guys, there's a lot of great coordinators out there. I'm not so sure Mike McDaniel isn't a real good coordinator, a run game coordinator, a quarterback coach with the 49ers during some Super Bowl years. Maybe he's just not built to be a head coach.
In-game live only on SportsGrid.
I think a divorce is coming. I don't think LeBron finishes the year with the LA Lakers. And the trump card he tried to play has backfired on him big time. And I'm here for all the smoke. I got my marshmallows. I got my skewers. I got the fireplace. I'm going to sit back, kicking my feet, and watch the LA dysfunction play out in real time.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
Governor calls you out in the football state. You're out.
And it was so funny, too, because after he fired Kelly on Sunday, right, Woodward released a statement that said that, in effect, that he was still in charge of the athletic department. Well, you didn't check with the governor because apparently he had other plans for the athletic department, and you're not in them.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid as we get ready to wrap up the show. Don't forget, plenty of NBA coverage tonight, National Hockey League, and of course we got some MAC action in college football as well. Our topics today as we wrap it up: Tom Brady takes a step further into the world of cloning. An NBA player gets a technical from the bench wearing sunglasses, and it looks like we could have a tennis match that includes the battle of the sexes. I'll get to all that and a whole lot more. It's time now to wrap up the show with some last licks. All right, this is not just making news on our show. This is making news on all of the morning shows nationally today, because my wife told me about the story today. I'm like, yep, we're going to do it on today's show. Tom Brady, Hall of Fame quarterback, best ever, now broadcaster, revealed that his current dog, Junie, in a bizarre turn of events, is a clone of his late dog, Lua, who died back in December of 2023. In fact, he took this story a step further by letting us know that the dogs were cloned by Colossal Biosciences, a biotech company that Brady is an investor in. And the way that they did this is they used blood collected prior to Lua's death. So we've seen a lot of movies about this, certainly. We know that they cloned a sheep, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that. But here we go. This is like, Pet Sematary. You guys don't remember this movie from the 1980s. But look, goodbye, Tom Brady, I guess, wants to keep the generation alive. Couldn't he just have had this dog breed and just take the puppy of some kind? I don't know. But hey, Tom Brady does different things. Maybe this is just a signal for cloning in the future for humans. I'm not really sure here. But this is what Tom Brady chose to do. Why couldn't he have just taken the Georgia Bulldogs dog and just use that as his pet? I don't know. Okay, Dillon Brooks is not a popular player in the NBA. Never has been. Pretty much everywhere he has gone, he's always, I don't want to be too tough on the guy, but he's had some different issues in different places, and he's going to, look, NBA players stick around forever. So he's on the Suns. Is that right here, Frank? Did I get that right? He's on Phoenix now. So in the game last night that they played, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. There was a free throw being taken, not even like a bad call, but just a free throw. And Brooks, who is not playing in the game last night, is sitting on the bench in street clothes and ends up getting a technical foul, which is extremely rare. You see coaches have this sometimes, and certainly players who are not in the game, but to have a player who's not even in the game in the NBA get a tech, this happens maybe once a year. I don't even know that it even happens once a year. I'd set the over-under at 1.5 for the season. But to even make things worse, Brooks, for some reason, indoors, not playing in the game, wearing sunglasses. Indeed, folks, he is the first NBA player in the history of the league to get a technical foul wearing sunglasses and street clothes on the bench. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm going to deem it true here as we wrap up the show here on SportsGrid. Finally, could we get a battle of the sexes on the tennis court yet again? I know it's been about 40 years, but here we go. We're going to have number 1 woman in the world, potentially, Aryna Sabalenka, take on the men's world number 652, Nick Kyrgios, in Dubai on December the 28th. Kyrgios says that he will try, but you can't rule it out. We'll see who ends up winning this one. Of course, this happened many, many years ago in a galaxy a long time ago, 40, 50 years ago, where this happened and made a lot of headlines. We'll see if this ends up happening. December the 28th, no word on if it'll be broadcast somewhere, but potentially we could have a man versus a woman on the tennis court. And Kyrgios says that women can't return our serves, and he'll win 6-2 if it ends up happening. Okay, fighting words as well. All right, that'll do it for our show today. Also, some great guests here on the program. Michael DeCourcy from Sporting News, Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report, Simon Applebaum from the podcast tomorrow will be televised. And also thanks to Adam Kaufman for coming on the show and having a little fun as well. In addition, folks, if you have not yet downloaded the SportsGrid app, you really should, because it's a great companion to all of our programming here, and it also tracks your bets if you want to get involved. You can't, make bets on there, but you certainly can put in the bets and track them for yourself just by downloading the SportsGrid app. And if you say, how do you do it? Here's what you do. Take out your phone, and as you see on your screen, we got that QR code, nice and big. Luke threw it up there for you. So on iOS or Android, whatever you have, just take it out and scan it, put it in your phone, and then you're all set. It's free, doesn't cost anything. By the way, our streaming is also free as well here on SportsGrid, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Programming reminder for tomorrow. It's just one of those days that I am taking a day off, so I will not be here tomorrow, but it will be Brady Cannon in the house, also Paul Stone, one of our guests breaking down college football, so make sure you tune into that show. He'll do a fantastic job, and then I'll be back on Friday. Thanks again to Luke, our director. For my producer, Frank, I'm Craig Mish. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. I'll see you back here on Friday for my next edition of NewsWire. Brady Cannon, though, in tomorrow. Make sure you tune in. Have a great one.